Welcome to the Six Again podcast, your new destination for all things NRL. Here to bring you everything from team news to best bets are your hosts Adam Hoy and Jarrod Newton. Let's kick off.
Yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to this one because we get 8 games of footy back on. And as a Queensland supporter, it hasn't been the best week, so I'm really looking forward to just some NRL footy. How about you, Jarrod? Couldn't care less. He's put himself on.
No, I was talking.
There we go. There we go.
Who are you playing this weekend?
Bulldogs.
Oh, no wonder you're looking forward to it, mate.
Hey, they've knocked us around.
Hey, Cherry's looking forward to winning the game as well.
Now, we played pretty damn well after the State of Origin 1, so yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, probably pretty keen to go into a press conference with not being broken.
Yes, and I need something to look forward to because while I am on holidays, it doesn't look like I'm going to the snow next week anymore because...
damn, really?
Well, depends if Sunny Coast is deemed a hotspot. As soon as those words are stated, that's the end of travel. So I think New South Wales has put Queensland as a state of concern at the moment.
Oh, that sucks for you.
However, the Bucks fight I'm going to this weekend is still going ahead, supposedly. So
where's that at?
The Gold Coast.
Oh,
we cancelled accommodation and activities, but we're going to rebook accommodation on the Friday if everything's half opened up again. So...
yes, hopefully that works out for you.
Completely selfish of the Buck. You should just postpone the wedding so we can have it later. But anyway.
Yeah, weddings.
Talking about you, Tom. Jeez.
Yeah, that's why I'm not getting married. That's the reason.
Yeah, okay.
The COVID part. Yeah, that's the reason.
Waiting for any others.
Anyone who knows Kalisha, please don't tell her I said that on the podcast.
Oh, I will. And on that bombshell, welcome into the Six Again podcast. My name's Adam.
I'm Jarrod, and I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Oh, who are you guys playing this weekend?
Oh, no, we'll win, but from what I just said.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter.
I'm actually pretty confident this weekend.
Well, do you know who would be the most confident? Would be your brother, because for the first time in a little while, let's jump over to the footytips.com.au website and have a look at the 6 footy competition. For the second time in 3 weeks, paraplegics, and we're saying that's Billy, has picked a full round, and we had to wait.
You're not Billy, I like you.
Results to come through. So
where does the plegic part come from?
Well, it's para P1 LEGIC5, so I don't know.
Okay.
He drinks a lot?
Yeah.
Not sure.
You must do if you're a Parramatta fan.
Yes. So 9 out of 9 gave him the extra point for 10. So
did he pick New South Wales?
Yeah.
That couldn't have been Billy.
I picked New South Wales.
Did you?
Said Kieran. What?
How's the disrespect?
Why? It's a tipping competition. It's not. Let's pick.
Have some faith in your own team, boys. Have some faith in your own team.
How many times have you tipped Newcastle? Not tipped Newcastle.
Once this entire tipping thing.
And that's why you're coming like 4th last. Like literally 40-something points behind first. Crazy. So yes, paraplegics got a full round. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miss it by 1, all getting 8 out of 9. A number getting 7 and a number getting 6. So if we look at the total score now, we have 93 points. Methodical Flamethrower and Paraplegics at 92, the underscore Irk. And then another 3, Drum Kelly in from the Cullen Ben Liner on 91 and a few more on 90. So it's, again, from first through to 7, 8, 9, it's separated by 3 points. So make sure your tips in this week, and remember the street competition is still going. With regards to bets, I can't even find the book I used last time, so I'm assuming you're still on 0. And
Yeah, I'm still on 0.
102, 92, $92 something.
Yeah, something like
We'll
that.
go off that. All righty.
Wally will make sure you are. He'll message in if you're not.
Yeah, hit us up, Wall. All righty, let's jump straight into it. So this is our off the ruck segment, everything that is happening off the field. And we're obviously going to start with COVID and the new procedures and lockdowns and everything with regards to the NRL. So 4 clubs hit harder than others at this stage, but things are constantly changing, as we know. So Canterbury have been handed a $50,000 breach notice for failing to take all reasonable measures to ensure their players comply with their NRL's biosecurity rules. So supposedly clubs were all made aware of the new biosecurity policies. However, Canterbury didn't tell their players till the next day. So in between getting updated by the NRL and telling their players, 5 of their players attended Coogee Hotel or Royal Hotel in Bondi. And
So what, they didn't tell and the players went?
Yes. So they've also issued with breach notices, and the breach notice proposes fines, which takes into account the varying salaries of the players and the alleged shortcomings of the club's communication.
I can't believe that. So obviously, if the players weren't aware, everyone else in the country was aware there was a COVID scare in Sydney last week when this all came about. And the players knew what happened last year with their situation during COVID. You'd think they'd be smart enough to isolate themselves without... I know the Bulldogs were wrong in not telling them. Like, they've got to tell them what's going on. But surely they were smart enough not to go to the pub in a COVID scare when you're an NRL player. Like, come on.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Sorry. No. Yeah. Right after you've said all that, underline, et cetera, down here. So yeah, Bulldogs got fined $50,000 for taking longer to tell the players. However, the breach took place several days after the upgraded protocols have been communicated, in issuing the
so
same.
That's even worse.
So Dylan Napa $5,000, Brandon Wakeham $1,750, Corey Waddell $1,500, Sione Katoa $1,250, and Aaron Shook $250. So they're all
that's actually worse than what I just said.
Yes. So they're all
made aware by the Bulldogs, and then they still did it.
Yes.
Ban them.
They are. 2 weeks.
Nah, they're on isolation. They're not banned.
Josh Dugan has been fined $25,000. Sorry, I'll take that back. Issued with a breach notice for failing to comply with the game's biosecurity protocols. The notice proposes Dugan be fined $25,000. So Dugan attended a restaurant in Potts Point on June 25th in breach of level 3 biosecurity protocols, which require players to stay at home, etc., etc. It's alleged that Dugan had been fully informed of his obligations by the Sharks and chose not to comply with them. However, this was not a violation of New South Wales Government Public Health because the upgrade hadn't happened then. Dugan has returned a negative test and hasn't been in contact with other members of the playing group, etc., but he's still going through a 14-day isolation period. So he hasn't had to pay yet, but it's...
I blew up about Latrell Mitchell and the 2 other blokes who, I think it was Josh Adokar and Tyrone Roberts-Davis from Newcastle last year going up to the farm. This is actually worse just because of the fact that they went through all last year. They knew what was going on. And the bloke couldn't not go to the pub. The fucking pub. He's not going to a children's cancer ward for a thing. He's going to the pub.
A restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you reckon there was alcohol served at it?
I don't know.
He went out for a few drinks where he can put everyone else in their career in jeopardy. And like you said, it wasn't New South Wales government regulations, but if my work told me I had to stay home, I'd 1, enjoy it, 2, stay home.
Yeah, $50,000 in the pocket's a pretty decent fine considering no one else in the public's getting fined more than $200 or whatever.
Yeah, but it's part of your contract.
Yes, maybe.
And on the other hand, you can't compare the NRL players getting fined when they get privileges that, as you said, normal regular people don't, as far as jumping state lines to play sport. Like, these guys definitely aren't going to lose their job, but he gets more privilege, so he should be under more of a microscope as far as COVID only in that regard.
All right. He's out for 2 weeks, and
well, you're losing your holiday next week possibly for this reason. So
yes, I know.
Because idiots go to the pub.
Yeah, I know. North Queensland, we head to. Todd Payton is isolating for 14 days after being in close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case in Townsville. He's awaiting his test. Dean Young will take over the reins for the next 2 clashes for the Cowboys against Newcastle and South Sydney. Tom Gilbert and Griffin Niami have also been put into isolation after travelling to nearby Magnetic Island and been in close contact as well. So Cowboys cancelled their Wednesday training session and players were sent home to self-isolate. There was no restrictions at the time of those contact and tracing, etc., etc. Valentine Holmes and Cole Felt have been rescheduled to rejoin their club teammates on Wednesday after observing 48 hours of isolation after game 2 as well. Alrighty, so heading to New South Wales there. New South Wales Rugby League competitions have been cancelled for the next 2 weeks, and they are scheduled to resume on the weekend of July 17. So this is a fair list of competitions. So knock-on effect, New South Wales Cup, Jersey Flag Cup, Ron Massey Cup and Sydney Shield, and Mojo Holmes Cup. So this is obviously due to Greater Sydney being hotspot. They've cancelled that for the next 2 weeks. There's a very detailed description of all the clubs and fixtures are going to be affected by this. And if you do play in that region or know someone that does, jump on the NRL.com website and go through that article. So don't have the time to read all of them out at the moment. NRL is now back to level 4 protocols. So players have to be at home unless training, playing or completing an essential household task. Visitors are not permitted into the homes of players or officials. This is back to the heightened thing from the start of COVID that the NRL had to go through last time. Storm players will be flying home to Victoria.
Already have.
Via Newcastle.
Yeah, they already have. They did it a couple of days ago.
Yesterday, but they're going to fly back to Newcastle for the game against the Roosters.
It'd be interesting. It will be interesting with Origin on next week, a couple of weeks' time, where it's going to go with all this kind of stuff, because they're down to level 4. That means that obviously that's going to be a long period before it gets down to nothing in Sydney, and the next Origin's in Sydney. So where do you think you'll go?
Newcastle.
You reckon it will go to Newcastle?
There's nowhere else. Really?
Well, see, there is and I wouldn't hate it, to be honest. There is not a bad idea bringing it up to Gold Coast.
No, Newcastle's the biggest stadium. And
yeah, I know, but my reasoning for that is that we can beat the shit out of you all the way down to the Queensland border. Queensland coastline. Yeah. Cool. What do you reckon about that?
That's all right, as long as Queensland gets their 2 home games next year as well. All good.
You already had 2 home games this year.
And criticism, come on. On State of Origin, it looks as though, well, it's not 100%, but it looks as though Paul Green will pick up his second-year option. Will be given a second-year option for next year. This is from Bruce Hatcher, the QRL chairman. So Paul Green's on a 1-year contract, but there's an option in the QRL's favour for the second year, and that was put in in case an NRL job opened up and Paul Green wanted to take that on, because that's still his goal. It was pretty to the point and honest quotes here from Hatcher, basically saying he's in the middle of a contract. He's still got another year to go. I haven't even given a thought that there'll be any consideration to a coaching change. We'll go through our normal process of a review. Asking if more coaching support to Green staff has been considered. He said, no, there's no reason why that should change. I think it's a bit of an insult to say he's the problem.
Well, who is the problem?
Like, I'd love to hear that sort of support and confidence coming from the QRL boss towards the coach, because obviously he'd be seeing a lot more of the day-to-day stuff. But in the end, it's a results-driven business, and this Queensland team's looking like being on the end of the worst whitewash in history. You can point, like they point to a lot of the players and the injuries and all that sort of stuff, but when it comes down to the tactics and the selection on the day, that in the end falls on the coach and the coaching staff. And those are the things, in our opinion, that we've talked about previously aren't up to standard.
Well, I'm not even... I think, as we keep saying, that the main job of an Origin coach is to motivate them correctly. And there's no way in hell these blokes were correctly motivated. Like, Cherry Evans came out and said they were more motivated than us. Like, his job is to get them primed for the game. They scored 6 points in 2 games. Yeah, I think that's more of a crack on him than the thing. Like, you can put people on the field, but if they're not going to actually tackle it, what's the point? I feel like that's more of an issue right now.
Yeah. I love how he finishes here. There's a bit of adversity there, but certainly no panic. I've got faith in the players and the coaching staff. We're not going to win every game, but we'll continue to improve. Like I said,
that's not Origin.
Like 26 points. Yeah, it's a crap comment. Like, he's obviously I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what commentating on. It's just I had to put this in here because this reminded me of our C grade days. So after that 66-16 thrashing by the Storm of the Tigers have now put in punishments at trainings when mistakes are made. And I love how this article makes it look as though it's a radical new age idea. And while Luke Brooks declined to comment, as did Adam Dewey, James Tomo expanded on it, saying, we wanted to make as if it's unacceptable for a drop ball or things like that. Well, usually a drop ball is unacceptable anyway. He said, Melbourne taught us a lesson in more ways than one. The punishment system something in their head about not being mediocre. We want to be the best, and that's why you play the game, etc., etc. And this comes off the back of underlying issues at the club that were mentioned by the players that came to a head. It's all been aired out, all this sort of stuff. But one thing I found interesting, Tamo said he flew home after that Sunshine Coast flogging and rewatched the game and turned it off. And he said it's the first time he's ever turned off a game that he's rewatched. And he was so frustrated in himself more than anything. But thinking back, what was the worst punishment for mistakes or whatever that you went through at training?
Well, see, the good coaches don't have to punish you for me. I know that's kind of irrelevant to what we're talking. Sorry?
I said, what was your worst punishment at training?
I never did. Like, I always knew that if you fucked up, that's enough of punishment. If you got beaten by 66 points, that's enough of a punishment. Like, the fact that these grown men have to resort to being punished as if they don't already, like, I don't understand.
No, they put it in, players put it in themselves. This wasn't by the
I don't get why they think they need it. Like, it goes back to the motivation thing. I don't understand. What's
yours? Are you saying that at our C grade trainings, when there was a mistake, not everyone
look, when coaches didn't know how to coach, they made it, they try to, drop the ball or run 50 meters or something. Like, that was the punishment. It never worked.
Yeah, I can't even remember any. I think it was I just got frustrated.
Yeah, no, like,
same drill over and over and over again.
I think the biggest punishment was
because the teams do that before they play every game anyway. It's all the basics over and over again.
Like, the worst punishment is when the coach is
disappointed.
This is just me. Well, the coach is disappointed but doesn't know how to fix it.
Oh, thanks.
So
Worries.
you coached me for 1 year. I'm not referring to you. Was it 1 year?
Sure, all we did was fitness.
Well, see, but you actually talked at half. We had a coach when I was in juniors, higher and juniors. All we did was play touch every training session. And then we had another coach after you in seniors who created this ridiculous course. And he thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. It was this ridiculous fitness thing. And whenever he didn't feel like coaching, he set that up. And that annoyed me more than anything. Because you're like, well, we just got beaten 50-0 and you reckon this is the problem?
Fitness, yeah.
it was just that's what annoyed me.
If that coach is listening to this, I don't really know, Jarrod.
I hope he is. He deserves all the crap he gets.
I think I'd probably finish by then, I'd say. But I don't know. I kind of enjoyed the punishment. I don't know, that extra fitness stuff I just always enjoyed.
Well, see, for me,
get off my butt to go do some now anyway. But
whatever training thing we do, like if there was a justified, if we were getting punished for, say, I don't know,
ill discipline.
If we rocked up hungover, that would have sucked, but that would have been deserved.
Shouldn't it be when we rocked up hungover? All right. Some good news with regards to the Warriors. It looks as though Chanel Harris-Tavita may actually be returning this season, looking around rounds 19 or 20. He was expected to be out due to a torn pec. The tear wasn't as bad as feared upon returning to New Zealand to get it checked out, and will be undergoing rehab. And this comes off the back of them signing Chad Townsend for the rest of the year as a replacement for Chanel Harris-Tavita. Now, if he does come back around 19, 20, it gives him about 5 to 6 rounds towards the end of the season where you could have something like a Chanel Harris-Tavita, Chad Townsend combination, and Cody Nikorima assisting at hooker to take the load off Wade Egan because Carl Lawton's gone, or a Chanel Harris-Tavita 14 role or something like that. And it just adds that extra bit of creativity to go with the guidance that Townsend's bringing. And Nathan Brown said this week that in the short term, all he wants from Townsend is communication in defense, organisation, and kicking.
I'm actually really curious at this because Craig Fitzgibbon has obviously made this call about Chad Townsend. He's made the call that he doesn't want him next year. And does that mean he doesn't overly... No, Townsend.
Yeah, or Johnson. Johnson's signed for
Bears. Oh, yeah. So Johnson signed with Warriors. So does that mean Craig Fitzgibbon and as a Roosters hierarchy just don't rate Chad Townsend when they play against him? Like,
are you going to say the same about Sean Johnson?
Yeah, it's really strange because it's like a hammer blow, really. The fact that he's gone.
It's just a coach coming in saying you're not part of our plans. It happens every year.
Yeah, but like he's done it 6 months before the end of the year. He's gone to another club 6 months before the end of the year.
Yeah, but you'd say that Sean Johnson could have started looking at doing the same thing as well because he knows he's not.
Oh, yeah. But, well, that depends if the rest of the Roosters let him. I'm sorry, Cronulla let him. I just think it's like, well...
I reckon every player would be not expecting it, but wouldn't be surprised by it if a new coach comes in and said, hey, you're not going to suit my style. You need to find somewhere else. You're like, oh.
Yeah, it's just so surprising that I'd be very interested to see what Fitzgibbon actually thinks of him. He must be really looking for a very attacking style of football because Chad Townsend,
like Sean Johnson,
very conservative, but he's getting rid of Sean Johnson as well.
That's what I mean.
He signed Nico Hines. And they reckon
I have no idea what he's doing.
Rumours floating around he wants Connor Watson to partner Nico Hines in the halves.
Well, that'd be exciting.
I don't understand that at all. I wouldn't put Connor Watson as my best half in the team. He's
I
a
want to
really
see
good player.
I'm going to see who's going to do the kicking game and who's going to control the game. That'd be interesting. One we didn't cover on the Origin one or the previous, if it had happened by then, Joel Thompson has announced that he's going to be retiring at the end of this season. My background for tonight is Joel Thompson in Indigenous All-Stars jersey, next to some Aboriginal artwork, which is awesomely colourful. He's played 234 NRL games for the Raiders, Dragons and Sea Eagles and captained the Indigenous All-Stars team in 2020. He went over to the Super League earlier this year. He was granted an early release from Manly to pick up a 2-year deal with St Helens. He stated that while personally he's really enjoying himself over there, his family can't say the same for his family, both in the UK and at home, and they're coming home a year earlier than the contracts that he signed. And everyone at St Helens has supported his decision, but he's going to play out the rest of the season for St Helens, and that is through to September.
I said this when he went over to England, that every NRL player would have been happy this bloke's leaving. And I guarantee you everyone in England's happy this bloke's retiring. He's just that good.
Oh, he's so
toughest. One of the toughest bastards in NRL. Like I loved him when he played. He was so good.
He does so much work off the field as well. Mental health based off that near-death experience he had in 2019, I believe. And does a hell of a lot of work for Aboriginal Indigenous people as well. All right, going on to signings. Cowboys, still not official yet, but they've weighed into the Finucane signature fight with a 2-year deal. So Storm and Finucane have both said that they want to stay, they want the relationship to stay there, but salary cap will rear its head. He's 29 years old, even though it feels like he's been around for longer than that. The Cowboys have put forward a 2-year deal, supposedly. Neither the Cowboys nor the Storm have clarified that. There's also interest from the Knights, and there was interest from the Dragons until the outcome of Jack de Belin case came forward, and supposedly their interest has cooled since then. West Tigers is also another club that has registered interest but hasn't registered an offer.
Go to Newcastle.
The Cowboys.
Cowboys? What are they going to put him in the front row?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm like... What are they... No, surely not.
Why not?
Well, he's a lock. I know I've always said there's no difference, but this bloke, I don't think he's the one you want on the first tackle taking the ball up every single time.
You won't be. That's Tamalolo's job.
No, well, he'll play lock. If you want, he's going to have 8 or 10 on his back, this bloke.
Yeah. Unless part of what Peyton's doing is shortening Tamalolo's minutes to put him on the edge so he's explosive.
I don't know. I think he would fit in. He would change the change the Tigers having that kind of player in the middle of their field.
So you'd be dropping Frizzell, Barnett, or Fitzgibbon, eh?
Fitzgibbon. You put Finucane at lock, Barnett and Frizzell on the edge, and then and then on our bench you'd have Safidi, Watson, and Fitzgibbon with Watson. Yeah.
Not this week because Clemmer will be there supposedly, but we'll get to that soon. Interesting. Cowboys are putting their nose in front. So things that have people that have actually signed. So Corey Thompson has extended his stay at the Gold Coast for a further season. He was already contracted till the end of 2022. He's extended for a further season, and he's also bringing up his 100th NRL game this weekend. So a big sign there, as stated by Justin Holbrooks, who's been career best form before he got injured. For the Raiders, hat trick here. Semi Valemi, Sebastian Chris, and Xavier Savage have all re-signed for the Raiders, which is really, really good news. So Chris got a extension to the end of 2024. They don't have the extension timelines for Valemi there, but they're all young, exciting players, and Raiders would be pretty stoked to hold on to them. Toby Sexton, one of the Gold Coast Titans' bright young prospects, has extended through to the end of 2024. He's Australian Schoolboys representative and is closing in on an NRL debut. We mentioned Melbourne Storm has signed Nick Meaney from the Canterbury Bulldogs. North Queensland has agreed to a contract extension with premiership winning Jake Granville. And Patrick Herbert is committed for a further 2 seasons at the Titans. So Titans been busy this week.
Jumping back to what you said about Toby Sexton, with Jamal Fogarty, Tanner Boyd, does that rule out Ash Taylor? Or does that lose him? That means he's definitely on the way next year?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen enough out of Tanner Boyd. Been saying that he's had 2 or 3 weeks in a row a couple of times now.
Well, yeah, but he jumps off the bench. They put him in hooker sometimes. Like, he's not very consistent, but like, you know, he was Mal Meninga's first signing when he signed with the Gold Coast.
Tanner Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Mal. So I don't think I just think that it's the end of Ash Taylor now with young Toby Sexton. Then you got, you got Tyrone Beachy, you can go on the halves as well. So they've got plenty of cover there. And he's on $1 million contract as well.
Yeah. And we mentioned earlier, Sean Johnson has signed a 2-year deal for the Warriors for 2022 and 2023. So we're finishing his career back where it all started, which is good news all around.
Mm-hmm.
So really big signing news before we finish. And I thought we would clarify all this sort of stuff. So NRLW has been releasing all their marquee signings. And this is based on spreading the talent around to ensure that the competition isn't lopsided. So how this works, and we'll clarify this first so there's no confusion. Each team, so there's 6 teams, Roosters and George Broncos, who are the original teams, joined by the Titans, Eels and Knights this year, with the Warriors pulling out, but we'll be back next year. So each club is allowed 24 players, and those 24 players have to add up to a maximum number of points of 130 or less. Now, each player is given a certain number of points based on their experience, level that they've played at, etc., etc. So it basically means you can't just load up your team because you'll go over the 130 point limit. It's very similar to fantasy or super coach. Okay. And so each club can have a maximum of 5 marquee players. So they'll be players that are worth 10 points or 9 points. They're the 2 highest. And the player ratings go from 10 points all the way down to 1. So the top one is a player who was offered a Tier A central contract for the 2021 NRLW season, a maximum of 4 players at each club only. Next one down, 9 points, a player who participated in the State of Origin this year. All the way down to 1, where it says all players who do not fit any of the criteria above. So there's criteria from 10 points all the way down to 1. All right, so each of the teams have announced their 5 marquee signings, except for the Knights and St. George. So supposedly the Knights have struggled to attract some of the elite talent so far, but there's still a number of players unsigned. So
they do have some juniors that develop. Like, I'm pretty sure Isabel Kelly is from Hunter.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that one because that's what they're going to be relying on based on who's coaching there. So Parramatta, so this is their first season. Dean Witters is their coach. So they've signed Siami Tafua, Batil Vet Walsh, Kennedy Charrington, and Falima Hanisi, all played for New South Wales, all coming from the Roosters. While Tiana Penatani joined the Eels after 2 seasons at the Dragons. So Eels have picked up 4 current State of Origin players who were all at the Roosters last year.
Awesome.
Broncos, because the Broncos have had the dominating team, they've kept Ali Brigginshaw, Taryn Aitken, Tamika Upton, joining New South Wales prop Millie Boyle and Kiwi Ferns forward Amber Hall. So they had the toughest task. Who are they going to keep? So they've signed those 5. And I mean, that there will be players there that will need to sign elsewhere. They're coached by Kelvin Wright. For the Titans, who are coached by Jamie Feeney, who was the head coach of the Roosters. He's moved up to the Titans. So they signed Nellie Doherty, so Woman of the Match medal winner from Origin, Tasman Gray, as well as Karina Brown, Georgia Hale and Crystal Tamarura, and also former Australian hooker Brittany Brealey-Narty, who missed last year's competition due to family reasons. So they're the players that have gone through and signed so far. Like I said, St George, who were coached by Matt Head this year, haven't released their marquee signings yet. Although they do have a list of players there from last year, like Maddie Stutton, Kezi Apps, Isabel Kelly, selecting which ones they keep as their 5 marquee. And the Roosters, again, haven't named their 5. They're now going to be coached by John Strange, who was the assistant coach there under Feeney, and also who had a big role in setting up the Central Coast Roosters feeder system for Women's Rugby League. And worth noting there, the Dragons also have a Dragons Academy for Women Rugby League players as well coming through. To Jarrod's point earlier with the Newcastle Knights, the NRL remains confident Star Power will pull on the red and blue. However, there is a large number of female Oztag touch football rugby league players in the district, and they've got quite a nursery of female rugby league players that are now playing in the NRLW as well. So they're confident that they will be able to fill out the roster. It's just whether there'll be any marquee movement from, say, the Dragons, the Roosters, or the Broncos to go down there, but they're not worried. And like I said, Blake Green, it will be coaching the Knights. I think that's a whole update. So rosters will be continue to fill out with coaching starting this month or next for a August start, and it will match up with round 23 of the regular NRL season.
It'd be really interesting to keep an eye on that. And what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on it and talk about the signings in amongst our signings as well.
Yes, pretty much what we just did then.
Yeah, just because it won't get the coverage it should.
Yeah, it feels like we've been going for ages, and we've talked about a lot of things. We just haven't talked about any in depth. There's just all these sort of tidbits of news. So we're going to have a quick break. We'll be back with injuries before the updated team list going into round 16. We went to have a break then, but actually forgot to hit record. I forgot to hit stop. So it was still recording while I was just talking to myself. So definitely going to edit that bit out. So injuries. Nathan Cleary is the big one. So picked up a shoulder injury from State of Origin 2. It was a torn labrum. And generally the torn labrum, or always with a torn labrum, will require surgery to completely heal. And that's what was being discussed post-Origin. He's looking at getting through to the end of the season before undergoing surgery. So he's going to be taking 4 weeks off, doing rehab, strength training, all that sort of stuff, and with a view to play the rest of the season after that to help the Panthers push for a grand final replay and obviously a premiership. Now, it's a debilitating injury if not looked after correctly, and he will be able to play through it. It just hurts like a absolute bitch. I had the same injury without actually knowing it, and mine built up over a 5-year period before it finally went under the knife, and that's when they actually saw that there was a torn labrum once they got in there. It never showed up. Yes, and Jarrod played a bit of footy with me and always saw me strapped up. People helping me get my jerseys on and off.
It was always super fun because Adam has a really hairy chest and we had to rip the strap tape off.
Didn't always remember to shave beforehand, but
so this is really interesting. So obviously Penrith are gambling on the fact that their star player only missed 4 weeks instead of 16 weeks, which would have been 4 to 6 months of their season.
Yeah.
But with this, other players who have suffered similar injuries in the past and who have chosen the way Nathan Cleary has gone, it has proven in history that's been the wrong decisions. For example, Gareth Widdop a couple of years ago, I remember it was absolutely horrendous. He dislocated his shoulder, 3 times in a 5-game period?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the worst one was when Broncos absolutely smashed them in the semi-final up at Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah.
And it just ended so badly for Widdop. He tried to save a try and his shoulder got stuck out. And he just laid on the ground screaming in pain. And also, on the other hand, if he did go for the surgery right now, players have actually got infections from it. Most notably, Sam Burgess got one, and he was out for a considerable amount of time when he did that. But I think the biggest one would actually be Michael Morgan, who actually ended up retiring from it because he was on and off for about 18 months there or something. He was coming in and out. They were trying to get him back. So it seems like a pretty nasty injury. I'm surprised that it has a high risk of infection considering the standards.
Yeah, I think they might be outliers that obviously we hear about because they're elite sports people. I didn't have any issues with mine, but there's always a chance of infection on any surgery you have.
That's true.
It could just be literally luck on those circumstances.
I really hope when he gets back at 4 weeks, after the 4 weeks, he's pretty good. Just because I remember seeing Gareth Widdop go down in that semi-final, and I felt sick for him. It was horrible for the poor guy. He was playing all right, but Broncos were running through him. But and I just felt bad.
It's a really painful injury, and if you want to put it into common words to try and explain what it's like, if you just put your arm out straight out from your body and move it backwards just a touch, you even with a solid shoulder, a good shoulder, it feels weaker. You've got less strength there because you've isolated that joint away from the body. As soon as that motion occurs with Cleary, he's going to feel pain, and the strength that he's going to lose in there is going to be immense. So he's going to try and do strength training on the muscles in and around there. He'll be severely strapped for the rest of the year. But it does heighten the chance of a dislocation because there's less tissue, muscle, holding the shoulder in place. And the best way I can kind of describe it is if you picture when you get new pants, like sports pants or whatever, and they've got brand new elastic and they're tight and everything, they won't fall down. And over time, the elastic gets looser and looser. That's pretty much what's now happened to the shoulder, and the strength training is kind of going to be like a stopgap with some extra freaking shoelace or whatever you're going to put in there to try and hold it all together.
Shoelace. Yeah, my elastic
is a string or something like that.
Yeah, I understand.
But for it to get back that tight again, he'll have to undergo surgery. So the chance of this reoccurring is quite high, but that's the strength could be. That's the risk. And you've got if he's ruled out, if he gets surgery, he's out for the season, and that's your premiership. So it's kind of down to it could be your premiership. Could be.
But that's the thing. This is going to sound really bad, but Penrith just have to deal with this. This is what a lot of people have been waiting for the hammer to drop on them, a major injury to a major player in their squad. Every other team's been so badly affected, decimated for injury that Penrith have been actually the outlier as far as injury goes. You got to have a chat with Dylan Edwards has had a few injuries. Kickout had a hamstring injury for about 2 weeks there. But other than that, they've never had any real
Coruscant near the start of the season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
but these have all been isolated as well, I think, is what you're getting at there.
Yeah, so there was that Roosters game about a month and a half ago. I think 3 of them got injured through knee injuries in one game. It was the Roosters versus Newcastle game.
Yeah.
Where Brett Morris went down. So it is going to be a really good test, and it'd be a hell of a challenge for Matt Burton and Jerome Luai moving forward. But we'll get to that when we outline the game this weekend.
So Dylan Edwards is out this week, as is Paul Momorowski with a hip injury. Robert Jennings is still missing with his hamstring. All expected back in round 18 as Penrith have the bye next week. Xavier Coates has been rested for the Broncos. Albert Kelly, Carmichael Hunt, Alex Glenn, and Brendan Piacore are all out this week due to picking up injuries at training session on Sunday. So I want to see what they were doing at training.
Massive.
That's a lot.
That's massive.
Yes, Nick Kotrick will not play against Manly. Picked up a toe injury. Dylan and we talked about the Bulldogs players and Josh Dugan isolating, and also Ewan Aitken and Josh Curran, who are on a flight from Gold Coast to Sydney, where a cabin crew member was returned a positive test, so they have to isolate based on that. So they're out for the Warriors.
Yeah, so with the Broncos thing, like if you look at a player's social medias and stuff, a lot of the teams actually went, you know what, blokes, guys, you got a week off. Go spend it with your families. Go do what you want to do. Obviously, COVID affected that for a fair amount of them. Broncos, with that training session, where 4 blokes got injuries for soft tissue injuries as well, like hammies and stuff like that. That's massive. That they by the sounds of it, they just went, we're going to flog you on this week off because you haven't played well. Sometimes the best thing for someone who's struggling, you know, not even in professional sports, in life, is to give them time away. And I really hope that the Broncos didn't flog them all week. They actually gave them a fair amount of time off just to, I don't know, refresh. And by the sounds of it, the training while they had a week off has affected them more than any game has in a long time.
Yeah, good points. I was taken aback. Going into
you often are.
I know. Going into the team lists this week, so we've got to get back into the rhythm of things. So we'll have betting lines for each game, ins and outs, and our tips, and then we'll look for a value bet along the way. We'll go from there. Just stalling as I bring up my betting app. There we go. So
first game is Roosters versus Melbourne Storm.
Roosters 0-7 this year against top 3 sides or something.
Are they? Okay. Mm-hmm. This game, due to COVID, has been played at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. So for the Roosters, Sam Walker returns at halfback, and Lachlan Land shifts to number 6. Joey Manu returns at centres, and Sawali is out. Tupanua's back, which is massive. So Fletcher Baker goes to the bench. James Tedesco and Angus Crichton will both back up from Origin 2. Freddie Lussick and Adam Kieran have been dropped already. And Drew Hutchison is listed amongst the reserves and could be in line for his first game. He was the guy who, Drew Hutchison, who Dylan Brown or Mitch Moses put his knee into, and he ruptured his lung. And this stat doesn't actually matter, but the Roosters have won 4 of their past 5 games at McDonald Jones Stadium. They only played against Newcastle. Don't stress too much about that.
Yeah.
From Melbourne.
I'm just going to pull up Roosters' record that I was just talking about then. So Roosters are 0-7 with a 226 to 104 points differential, obviously against top 5 rivals in the past 9 months. To make things worse, they have 4 more top 5 showdowns after this one in the next 10 weeks. So this all started in that very heavy loss to the Rabbitohs at the end of last year, where they lost 60-8 heading into the finals. So it's lost Rabbitohs, Penrith, Raiders, Rabbitohs, Storm, Eels, Panthers. And they've lost all of those, and now they're versing the Storm.
Okay, so for Melbourne, Pappenhausen's still a few weeks away.
Yeah.
Craig Bellamy has indicated he may rest Christian Welch and Felice Kafusi due to Origin workload. From a fan's perspective, in a big game like this, you want the best players playing, but from a Melbourne perspective, they're on top. You're better off resting now, so they have a bit of a break.
And that's with both Bromwich brothers are back in, so that kind of offsets anyway.
Yeah, and there you go. You got both Bromwich brothers return. Cooper Johns and Jordan Grant were the first two players cut 24 hours before kickoff. Who are you going on this one?
Storm. I guess the Roosters have to start winning against the big sides at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised if they only started winning against the big sides in the finals, to be honest.
That's kind of where it started last year when they started losing, just before the finals. So Crichton and Tedesco obviously would be on big highs after their Origin win, as will Addo Carr, though, for the Storm. Dale Finucane been in and around camp as well. Again, if Welch is out, you'd expect Tui Kamikamica to start at prop. Probably Chris Lewis to come in and start in the second row. Nelson Sofa-Solomon is still out suspended. And then
injury.
No, is it suspension?
Yeah, suspension. Sorry, yeah, I read it that wrong. Sorry.
So that'd be the changes there.
Yeah, I'm going Storm,
10
but
months to going off in this.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you see Sam Walker having a go as well.
I would, because he's still been invisible against all the top teams. Remember?
Yeah, but he's got to step up eventually.
He got absolutely monstered.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had a bit of a masterclass here. Okay, so you're going Storm. What are the odds on this one?
I'm expecting them to be not close-ish. No, Storm $1.30, Roosters $3.50.
Jesus. Okay, next game. You've got Warriors v. the Dragons at Central Coast Stadium, so Warriors home game. As Adam's discussed, Dalton Lesniak and Chad Townsend have been rushed into the Warriors team. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck goes to fullback with Reece Walsh out with a hammy injury from the picked up at Origin. Aiken and Josh Curran are set to miss the 2 rounds. Marcelo Montoya moves from the wing to centre, replace Aiken, and Edward Cozy is the new winger. Alicia Katoa comes in the starting side to fill the position left by Josh Curran. Wade Egan returns, and that puts Jazz Tavega on the bench. And the debutant from round 15, Taniela Otakolo, drops into reserves. Bailey Siren is back, and with Bunty Afoa joins the bench with Kane Evans promoted to start. Warriors have won the past 5 games against the Dragons. Matt Duffy returns for the Dragons with Tyrone Sloan to drop out of the side. Jack Bird shifts from back row to centre, which is a little surprising. He wasn't playing too bad, but yeah. And Jarrod Beale pushes out to the wing to cover Michaela Ravalawa. And so Jack Bird is replaced in the back row by Josh Kerr, while Paul Vaughan will start at prop. Josh Maguire and Tyro Fuimayone both return from suspension. And Tarek Sims, Ben Hunt, Andrew McCulloch will play after backing up from Origin 2. Who are you going in this one?
Oh, first of all, I'm surprised Rocco Berry's on the reserves and not on the starting side. Adam Pompey, Marcelo Montoya leave me wanting a little bit. I prefer to see Rocco Berry with a bit of game-changing talent in there. With regards to the Dragons, Jordan Pereira must not be impressing at training because you've got Ravalawa out and they're keeping Jarrod Beale in on the wing, which isn't a great sign, I guess. Also, no Fegai. I thought one of them at least would get in the reserves. I'm disappointed Jack Bird's moved back to centre. He was playing well in the second row, and having him in my fantasy side, it's like good enough for a sell for me because the Dragons just don't get the ball. They don't utilise their centres like some of the other teams do. Jack de Belin, will this be his first full start, I believe, since coming back? And he'll be opposing Tohu Harris, so not a bad test straight up. I've got the Warriors in this one. I think even though it's sudden and he's been rushed in, Chad Townsend is going to help direct the talent around for this team.
Yeah.
At least he could tell us starting on the edge again. We saw how damaging he can be last year. And Fanua Blake with another couple of runs under his belt since coming back from injury. I'm all about the Warriors this weekend.
I am too. And no matter what you say, having RTS at fullback makes him stronger in attack and defence. So I love that.
So Warriors 172, St George at 210.
And don't be surprised the Dragons pull out they're so inconsistent. They might pull out a flogging here. Okay, next game will be the game in a round. You got Battle of the West in Penrith, Parramatta versus Penrith. Obviously, we discussed Nathan Cleary pretty heavily. So because of that shuffle, you got Matt Burton going into 6 and Jerome Luai into 7 jersey, Tyrone May into the centres. So this is actually not as big of an impact, but I am really curious to see how this guy goes at fullback. Charlie Staines has been named in the fullback jersey. So early in the year when Dylan Edwards was out, Stephen Crichton actually played in the 1 jersey, and he was not even close to as effective as he is in the centres. And Charlie Staines has come through the juniors at fullback, so I'll be very curious as to how he goes. Would not be surprised if he's going to have a few high balls coming in. But the thing Penrith are going to miss is Dylan Edwards' ball play and his tackle breaks, because that's what Dylan Edwards is there to do. He's done the top 3 or 4 tackle breaks in the NRL, and he's very safe under the high ball. So Charlie Staines is going to have a hell of a test, especially with Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown, some of the biggest kickers in the NRL. Billy Army Kickout returns.
Brent Naden on the wing as well.
Yeah, I was getting there. Relax.
Oh, sorry.
Relax. Billy Army Kickout returns, and Brent Naden comes onto the wing after his illicit
pipeline
suspension. Yes. And Brian Tyre, Isaiah Yeo, Kirk Capewell will be named backup of Origin. 2 along with Luai. Honestly, guys, another thing about this, anyone who's backing up from Origin, don't be surprised if there's a late pullout just because of any hamstring tightness or anything like that. They won't risk it this close, this far away from the finals. It's not worth it, especially for teams like Penrith, Melbourne, who are going to guarantee to make the finals at this point.
Do you reckon Ivan Cleary asked Kurt Capewell to shift to the centres and he just said no? And so they put Tyrone May there?
That did not happen at all. Marcus Sivo's return for Parramatta.
I was asking that as a legit question.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No.
Tyrone May hasn't been all inspiring this year.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to bring up after I finish this is Parramatta's such an attack-driven team. They're missing. I would say that Tyrone May's not the strongest defender out in the centres, up against Wonga Blake and who's their other centre, Tom Opachet. So it'd be very, very interesting. With Nathan Cleary and Dylan Edwards going out, you can theoretically see a few chinks in Penrith's armour, but this is how you win a grand final. You've got to sustain these periods where you're missing your key players. Yeah. So it'd be a big test.
They did win earlier this year with Cleary out, and Matt stepped up.
Okay, so
they've been missing multiple players, not just one.
Okay, so Nathaniel Roach, Keegan Hipgrave make way for Oregon Kafusi and Bryce Cartwright on the bench, and Reed Marnie's not back yet. So Regan Campbell-Gillard will play his 150th game. I'll be interested, what is the odds on this one now that Cleary's out?
Parramatta 250, Penrith $1.53.
Yeah, okay. So for this one, today Mitchell Moses has come out and expressed his desire to wear the 7 for New South Wales now that Cleary's out. So this is the game he's going to have to step up, isn't it? Up against the guy who's taken over Spot's new team. So I'm actually going to go Para in this game.
Yeah, me too.
And another thing is that there's been reports around, and look, this could be bullshit too, but Kickout's output this year has not been flash.
No, it has not whatsoever. It's been
for a guy who...
Or average, it's also.
Single-handedly nearly ripped through every team in the NRL last year. His form has not been flash. Look, he might be priming. He just had 2 weeks off. Might be priming for the end of the year. I don't know. But let's hope he can step up his game because he's one of the star second rows in the competition.
Yeah. I've got Parramatta in this. I'm not going to say easily, but they were the least affected through the origin period for the top teams, with only Junior Paulo missing time. They're on a bit of a streak at the moment. They get Sivo back. They're coming up against a Penrith side missing Edwards and Cleary, as well as having players coming back from origin. If they're going to make a statement against Penrith, that has to be this week. I'm still surprised that Niakore's not back in the centres. Brad Arthur must be the only one left with faith left in Wonga Blake. It's either a hat trick or nothing.
Well, considering Fergo dropped instead of Blake, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. It is so good.
Okay, next game. Game it around for Adam. Bulldogs versus Manly.
So for memory, Bulldogs have given us trouble over the last few games. You read out through the... Oh, no, don't worry. I got the wrong team.
All right. Corey Allen returns on the wing, which is massive for Bulldogs, actually. And
if it was in last year's form, it would be.
Because all these players have been ruled out for him. Dylan Napa, Brendan Wakeham, Aaron Shoup, Corey Riddell, and Sione Katoa. Futures are under a cloud after breach by security protocols. Kyle Flanagan returns at 5'8", and they've got a debutant, Falakiko Manu, in the centres. Adam Elliott sidelined with a cheekbone injury. Poor bastard. Adam, look who's back. Joe Stimson gets a recall on the bench with 2 more debutants, Bailey Beyonde Odo and Christopher Patalo. I really apologise if I got those names wrong. Okay, so for Manly, you haven't changed a thing.
Yeah, Trbojevic is out still. So
no, he didn't play the game before that.
Oh, but was Kepi at lock though? Maybe.
Oh, it says there's no changes.
Walker was lock when he came on. It was brilliant.
Tom Trbojevic and Dale Cherry are back up. Jake remains sidelined with a hip injury. Look, tell me the odds on this one because I feel like they're going to be high.
It was about $7 to $1.10 earlier. $7.75 to $1.08.
I'm guessing you're going Manly in this.
A long time.
For this one, look, for the last 6 weeks, every time Tom Trbojevic runs, I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. He can tear his hamstring now for all I care. It's all good. No, I don't want him to tear his hamstring. He's like 90%
that wasn't
of the
even
highlights.
Funny. if Bulldogs weren't versing Manly this week, I'd be really interesting to see how they go because just for some of these new names, Beyond Odo, I just want to hear the commentator try and get through some of this stuff. If there's a link or passage of play with some of these dudes, I don't know who or what Joe Simpson did, but with this many players out and he's still in the interchange, he can't
go to Newcastle, mate.
He can't be there next year.
He has got to be one of the guys on the radar of every NRL club as a cut price, like a Isaiah Papali'i signing next year. Like,
I don't see that much dynamic play, but...
No, as far as an output player for cheap.
Oh, yeah, okay, for cheap, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, he wouldn't be signed for more than 300 at Bulldogs. And if you can get him for around, a bit less than that 250 for another 2-year contract, get him in your club. He's going to be a good player for any other team.
One thing as a Manly fan that I'm worried about, Jack Krzyzewski's on the reserves. Not a big fan, but...
Okay. Next game, you got Titans versus
I'm going
Canberra.
Manly. Who are you going?
Oh, I've already written it down. We're both going Manly. Jarrod Croker returns for the first time since round 7, and Matt Tomoko shifting to extended bench. Ryan Sutton named at lock, and Sia
Contract
Soliola.
extension, you're dropped.
Sorry? Oh, yeah.
Extension, you're
He'll
dropped.
be there for a while. No stress. Ryan Sutton is named at lock, and Sia Soliola on the bench. And Josh Rapale and Jack White will both back up. Okay, for the Titans, AJ Brimson returns. I'm really hoping he has a great game this game, like scores 5 tries. And Jaden Campbell is swapping out for Jaden Campbell. Yeah. Corey Thompson's on the wings, come back from ankle injury, with rookie Greg Marju dropping out of the squad with an elbow injury. Kevin Proctor returns for 1 game suspension, pushed Sam Stone from secondary to extended bench. Bo Fermor, Sam Lasoni claim places on the interchange, with Mitch Rain joining Stone and Campbell on the reserves for Jai Whitbread out of the 21. Fafita, Fasamawali, Fodawake are all named to back up from Origin too. So I really am going to feel sorry for Famasawali and Dave Fafita in this game, just because of the fact that they're going to turn around and they had nightmares about Tom Trebojevic for the last 2 weeks. Now they've got to come up against him again. Those poor bastards.
What?
Famasawali and
they're not.
Fafita.
They're versing Canberra.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I just said that. Jack Wyden. No. Sorry, they had to go up against Jack Wyden all over again.
He did nothing.
Still lost to him. Okay, for this one...
So this is Titans' best back line versus Canberra's best forward pack, in my opinion.
I couldn't believe I just said that.
I can.
Oh, you don't see Don in their best back line?
Yeah, maybe. No. Him or Sammy, I don't really care. He's actually been better.
I put Sammy in the centres, drop Herbert, and put Don in there.
You can do that. I'll just put Don over Sammy. There you
go. Okay.
I really like this back. I like the back line of Canberra, so this should be a fun game.
I'm actually going for Canberra in this one. I know they've been inconsistent, but unless Gold Coast has sprinkled some magic dust on their defense, I don't think any half-decent team's going to lose to them anytime soon.
I really like the balance of Canberra's forward pack there.
Yeah, it's
Corey Harawa and Ira has been outstanding since starting after the suspension, club-imposed suspension. And
honestly, Papali's got to kill someone sooner rather than later. He will. He's just there's going to be a team, the poor bastard of a team that no matter who he comes up against in the front row, he's just going to knock them on their ass, because there's not many times Papali gets beaten as much as he has been recently, and we know how good he is.
Yeah, I'll go Raiders in this one as well. $1.45 home favourites over the Titans, $2.75.
Yeah, okay. So next game is a 7:35 game on Saturday night at McDonald's during Stadium.
Nothing says prime time as Knights versus Cowboys.
Last time this game happened, Cowboys actually put, I think it was 40 points on Newcastle.
Right.
So for this one, Kalen Ponga has been named to make his long-awaited return. This is why I want AJ Brimson to score 5 tries so he can get the number 1 spot over Kalen Ponga, so we don't lose him. Kurt Mann returns to the centres. Brodie Jones slides back to the interchange. Jack Johns dropping to the reserves. Daniel Safidi backs up from Origin and joins twin Jacob into the front row. So, for the Cowboys in this one, stick with the same 17 that lost to Cronulla. Val Holmes, Kyle Felt, Francis Molo have all been included in the squad. For this one, this is, with what we've got, probably put Bradman Best in there, but this is the closest to the strongest backline Newcastle can put on the field. So you just put Best in for man. and it's put Frizzell in the starting squad, drop probably Sue, move Mitch Barnett to lock, and probably drop Josh King. You've probably got the strongest forward pack as well. So we're only missing really 2 players out of our strongest 17. For Penrith, it's going to... Penrith. Cowboys.
I'm doing the team list from now on.
Okay. Jake Clifford is playing against his old team, which will be interesting. And Tom Dearden is playing against the guy they chose over him in Jake Clifford. I'm going Knights in this one. I reckon that having Ponga back, having Clifford there, Pearce there, Daniel Saifudi in the form he's in, and I really did like Clemmer off the bench last game. I reckon that was really, really good. So I think they're going to put it on him here. I think there's going to be a few points in this game, to be honest.
The name that I'm most interested for either team's Connolly Lamelu, named on the reserves again. So him and Murray Talagi were forming a pretty decent partnership on the edge for the Cowboys before Lamelu got injured. And looking at how the Cowboys have been going, wouldn't be 100% surprised if Felt was rested. That's
actually a really good point.
Something like that, and Fidow going onto that wing, and then Lamelu coming into the centre to partner up with Talagi again.
Yeah, it's a really good point because that run those two started up in Townsville against Newcastle. I think Talagi ended up scoring 3 tries or something.
And then you've got David Bowen, who's a half-decent defender, helping out Fidow over that side. And then you got...
Tell you what,
Melu
it's going to be one of the smallest centre pairings up against each other ever.
Oh, yeah. Well, you put Lamelu in and that changes things.
Yeah, I know, but none of them are over 90 kilos, you don't think. Maybe Jarrod Bowen, but that's one of the smallest centre pairings I've ever seen.
So, yeah, to me, this is the hardest game to read of the lot. You got 2 teams that are just either consistently bad or consistently inconsistent.
I just think when Ponga plays, it's not so much his ability, but the rest of the team.
Yeah, psychology for the rest of the team.
That's the only difference.
After the week that Holmes and Felt have had together, and Cohen Hess was in and around the camp, and no New South Wales players in there to kind of balance it out, it can have a pretty decent impact. I
will say
I'm going to go the Knights because they're at home. I'd be interested to see how many cutout balls Valentine Holmes tries.
I will say that in the last, 2 games, Ponga's actually been named, but we've drawn 20 hours before.
Yeah.
In this game, Tex Hoy, who usually replaces him, is not in the 4 reserves.
No.
So that part, I know they can. I know. Well, he actually played well against the Cowboys last time. I know they could put Watson at fullback, but Tex Hoy's been their go-to for a few weeks. So next game at Suncorp.
Broncos versus Sharks. Newcastle are $1.50 favourites. Cowboys are $2.55. So 2 o'clock at Suncorp. You got Broncos versus Sharks. For the Broncos, Katoni Staggs makes his long-awaited debut. His first game of the season, come back from his ACL injury. Jermaine Asako gets a run on the wing with Xavier Coates being rested. Brodie Croft also comes back in at halfback. Payne Haas is backing up from Origin, the starting front row. TC Rabadi starting the second row for the suspended Tavita Pangai Jr. So that opens up a spot on the interchange for Corey Pakes. Kobe Henderson still there. Keenan Palazia and Jesse Arthurs. In the reserves, you do have Milford Mead as well as Jordan Ricky. For the Sharks, just having a look through here. This up at Talakai starting in the second row. Jack Williams onto the interchange, as is No, there's no changes, is there, from last week? I'm just having a look. Yeah, you've got Sione Katoa named on the reserves again, try-scoring freak from last season, as well as Andrew Fafita. So same old for the Sharks, back-to-back Queensland games after pipping the Cowboys. Exciting to see what Tony Staggs is going to look like, how he's going to go. He said obviously centres for the rest of this year, but he'll form a good partnership with Reynolds next year. That's out of his mouth. Brodie Croft getting another crack. He's coming back from a knee injury. John Asiata's replaced because he has a neck injury. Sharks are aiming for 5 straight wins for the first time since 2018.
That's massive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For this, I'm actually going to pick the Sharks, even at Suncorp. But
yeah,
I really don't like Tessie New at fullback. I'm not a fan. I'm not. I don't see his utility value. I see him as a replacement hooker or something like that. I don't see it.
That's Corey Pakes.
Tessie New at fullback.
Yeah, I know, but Corey Pakes is like the replacement hooker. But
that's my point. That's how I see Tessie New.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Corey Oates is back, which is massive. I don't see how he hasn't got more. Well, I don't see how he hasn't got more games. Is this a new halves pairing for Broncos? Or has this been done before?
I can't keep up. I think it's new. It's been out for so long.
Yeah. I really like TC Rabati starting. Moving forward, I believe that him and Ricky are going to be their starting second row, which is super positive for them.
I swear Rabati was on a wing a couple of weeks ago, but that could have been so many. That was still in Cobbo. Jeez, yeah. So many players coming through.
What I don't understand, they've got Corey Pax and Jesse Arthurs on the bench with Kobe Heverington. So they've only got one front row and Keenan Palisaya on the bench.
He's a second row.
Kobe Heverington, he's a second row, isn't he? Where they've got Jordan
Reece Kennedy in the reserves.
Yeah, so that's really strange. They're trying to, by the looks of it, they're going to try and go up against Tolman, Woods, Nakora, Talakai, and Rudolph.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, with only one front row on the bench when they've got Teague Wilton, Jack Williams, and Braden Hamlin Ueli. It looks like Cronulla are just going to be able to power through in this one. Well,
chance of Carmichael Hunt playing a game at fullback this year.
Yeah, you got Talakai and Rudolph there. How do they plan on stopping those two? Consistently.
Because they're at $2.90 and the Sharks are at $1.40.
Young Sharks?
Yes. Moving on to the last game of the round, West Tigers versus Rabbitohs at Leichhardt. So with crowds, you'd imagine this would have been an absolute scene. Unfortunately, we won't be treated to that unless nothing drastically can change by that time. I don't know. 4 o'clock anyway. West Tigers. Looks pretty much the same. 3 changes. Dewey is back because he was out with that concussion. I forgot about him. In place of Tommy Talau. And the only other change is interchange forward Alex Seyfarth swaps places with starting lock. That's not a change. It's just a swap. And Thomas McHaley gets back on and Tom Amoni drops out. So there's a in-team swap. Seyfarth to lock, Offengowie to interchange, and Adam Dewey's back in. For the Rabbitohs, back 5 stays the same with Tane Milne holding on to his winger position. Hami Selly starting prop. Jairo again in the second row. Benji Marshall back in the 14 jersey after the birth of his child. Thomas Burgess on the bench. Mark Nichols is starting prop as well. An extended reserves bench for the Rabbitohs. Tautau Moga, Patrick Margo, Josh Mansell, Black Tuffy, Jaden Stewart, and Braden Burns. They've got a fair few positions there covered. So Sally's promoted from the interchange. Oh, Tavita Tola, that's the name I was missing. He's out. All Origin players have been named to start. Johnson has scored 8 tries in his past 3 games, which is, video game numbers. So I've got South. How much have you got him by?
That's not nice.
If I was
going South.
If I'm Luciano Leilua, I'm looking at Jarrod going, hell yeah, let's go.
Oh no, I would see the problem for me with Jarrod second row in this kind of arena is his attack. I think he can handle because Luciano Leilua. No. He has one play. He will try and run over you and then try and offload. Jarrod can handle it.
I'm not worried about if no. Luciano, if he's the dummy runner, Rabbitohs are fucked because Arrow's mistakes on Sunday night. The second one was he came in on the half and left the second row completely exposed. That's the one where Cam Murray dropped the ball.
Yeah, I know that.
And the previous one of that, he was sitting too tight. I reckon he'll be giving Leilua space or Laurie, who's going to be sweeping around the back.
Yeah,
I think that's where the Tigers are going to target.
I think the standard of the New South Wales team was slightly higher than the Tigers team.
Yeah, but there was nothing crazy.
Was there any West Tigers in Origin?
Literally, Joy Arrow made that play.
Was there any West Tigers in Origin? No, there wasn't, was there?
No.
Nah. That's embarrassing. Okay, so you're going South in this, minus Dry Arrow.
Was there a Knights player?
Yes. Starting front rower for New South Wales.
Oh, Safidi, that's right. I was trying to go
barely,
the whole team.
Manly did barely anything to affect Origin.
No, we had no players.
Okay, so
we had 15 of them in blue jerseys, but anyway.
Is that all you got?
I think that's everything from me. I'm going Rabbits there. Oh, my bet. Tigers are at $6.20. Rabbitohs are at $1.12. My bet's just, can I just say Parramatta to win? Because it's at $2.50. Is that value?
Yeah, go for it. $2.50 for Parramatta to win. That's not bad.
Oh, so I'm going to go over 46.5 points as well.
46 in the total game. Jesus Christ.
That's not much.
Okay, guys. We'll leave it there because we're kind of floundering at this point.
$4.60. There you go. Over 46.5 points with Parramatta to win. $4.60. Okay. I'll put a tenner on that one, and that will take me down to 82.80. And that'll put me up to 120 something if I pays through. There you go. Done. Jarrod can't because he's out of money.
Yeah. We'll figure out a way next time.
We'll chat to you dudes and dudettes. Let's say, it all depends. I'm in a Bucks this weekend, so
yeah, I'll sort it out.
You might be flying solo or finding a guest. Hit up Jarrod through Twitter or through Facebook if you want a guest host. This will be the first one I'm going to miss. We'll see.
Oh, well.
See you when I chat to you.
See yous.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to 6 Again. Connect with the show on Twitter, Instagram,